Right, that's Fishomania 2025, all done and dusted. To start off with, I just want to say what an incredible event it was to be involved with. A massive thanks to Barry Hearn, Sky Sports and Matchroom. The way that they organise it, the way they cover it, the way they do things, it's just second to none. The hype and the buzz around the match is just incredible. It's just so different to any other match. Even like the world champs and stuff like that I fished in the past. Like the hype and the buzz about Fishomania is just incredible. The amount of people that come and watch is obviously televised live on Sky Sports, 30-minute weigh-ins. It's just an incredible event to be involved with, and I will definitely be back next year to try and qualify again, because for me it's the #1 match to be involved with and to try and win within the UK now. So yeah, massive thanks to Barry Hearn, Sky Sports and Matchroom for organising it and being there and covering it. It's really important, and I feel probably a lot of anglers feel the same as me but don't get the platform to say well done, so I'm doing it on here. I don't know if it will get out there, but yeah, massive thanks to you guys. So yeah, to start off with now, I just want to say a massive well done to Brad. He's a fantastic young angler. He literally goes to every single match, wherever it is. He'll put the hard work in, he'll put the effort in, and for a 20-year-old, that's incredible. He travels on his own, doesn't live that local. He lives in the northern part of the country, but doesn't live that local, so his effort is very much paid off, so well done to him. He's fished a brilliant match, he's drawn a brilliant an area of the lake, and he's done everything perfect. He's done everything what he should do to win an event like that. So yeah, well done to him. So touching on my match a little bit, I practiced really hard. I didn't have loads of time to go and practice, but I felt like I practiced well. The problem was with my practicing compared to the match was I drew a total different area in all 3 of my practice matches. So I drew 48, I drew 16 and I drew 26, and that's the permanent pegs. And those 3 pegs, there's always lots of carp in that little area, and I felt the way that I was gonna fish and what I learned in practice. So basically in practice, on the last practice match, I caught really well, Tom Edwards caught really well, and James Howarth caught really well. James dominated the match, and we all caught on hard pellets, feeding 6mm pellets, and we're catching these big F1s and big carp. And after those 3 practice matches, I sort of convinced myself that that was how you had to fish to win, because James on the last practice match caught like 160 and he came off it because it was so good. So I was thinking, right, that's the way I need to fish to win, and I was really happy with it. Like, I was real happy with it, and I always had my casters with me just in case I needed to change. So my match, I started off on hard pellets, and I was so convinced I would go over into 18 inches of water, because 18 inches seemed really good, and put some hard pellets in, i.e. 6mm, and I would have a brilliant start, and I would do that on 2 lines. And if things went to plan, I would just fish those 2 lines, and then maybe later in the day I'd have to swap to loose feeding or potting casters. And I've gone in, and after an hour I was last in the match and never had a bite. I could not believe what I was seeing and what was happening. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, how? Because in practice it was so good, and I just think that maybe that area I drew, there wasn't as many big fish, there wasn't as many big F1s and big carp, which makes a big difference. So you've got to fish in a different way. And so what happened, basically, I started on my pellets and I started fishing, and I was last. I was like, wow, this is the certain situation that I really didn't want to be in. But I thought, it's fine, I've still got 4 hours, I can still build on this. So then straight away, obviously I'm behind after an hour. So I thought, right, I've got to force it a little bit to try and get a little bit of weight in the net and try and bring my peg back. And then the more I forced it, the worse my peg got, and I was just like, realistically, the anglers that were doing well in that area were just literally tapping a bit of bait in or throwing some casters in. And I was like, after 3 hours, I've got to be honest, it was probably one of the worst situations I've ever been in match fishing, because I was sat there and you've got all this hype and all this practice and all this pressure around this big match, and I'm sat there after 3 hours, virtually last, and I don't know what to do. I was lost. And even like probably Will's the most experienced angler in the world, and he was just like, Cal, I don't know what to say, like, I don't know. because we had a match in mind, and it was just all blown out of the window. But I thought, but I'm quite proud of myself in a way, because I had the composure just to stop fishing. Like, I literally stopped fishing and just sat there for a couple of minutes and just had a good think about it. And I thought to myself, right, so winning your section now realistically is out of the window. And I thought to myself, right, I just need to catch some fish to save a bit of face and just to weigh some fish in. I know it sounds bad, but this is the truth. This is what happened. And I thought, right, the person that was catching best in my little area is Kerry, to my right. And I thought to myself, I've just got to try and fish like him because he's catching the most. So basically what I stopped feeding across. I was loose feeding casters across. I was tapping my pellets in. My pellets definitely weren't right. So I literally thought to myself, right, I'm just going to fish short with a few casters, and I'm going to pop a bit of ground bait at my edge and just try and catch some of these smaller F1s. And I've got to be honest, when I started doing that the last 2 hours, I put another 28 kilos in the net. And I was like, kicking myself a little bit. But when you look back on things, I practiced well. I caught lots of fish in practice. I had 118 pound, I had 98 pound, and just no short of 90 pounds. So I caught lots of fish in practice. So to come away from what you've been catching on in practice and then do something totally different on the match, for me, doesn't make sense. If you were to do that, that's just stupid. What's the point of practicing if you're just going to do that? So I was happy at the end of the match in a way, because I had the composure to stop, adjust and catch some fish in the end. You're never ever going to win if you have to do that, but I'm glad I caught some fish in the end. And 28 kilo in the end wasn't too bad. Like, Bennett was 2 to my right, he's had like 30 kilos, so I didn't do too bad in the end, and I was glad I had the composure to do it. But obviously a long way from winning. I learned a lot about how to approach a match in Fishomania and how to practice, because it's always very different on the day. I think I probably went there with a little bit too much of a set mind on what I was going to do, but I do know to win big matches against the very best anglers, you do have to be like that. You have to have that mentality a little bit, where I'm just going to go there and be like, right, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. Because if you start messing about thinking, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and you're never going to win. You're never ever going to win. So yeah, I'm happy with the way I fished in the end. But obviously a little bit of a disappointing day, but that's fishing. No one wins all these finals, and these finals are getting harder and harder to win. You've got this nucleus of young anglers that are so talented, and they fish full time, and they're everywhere, and they're very, very difficult to beat. So that's not obviously taking anything away from those guys. I'm just saying it's very difficult to beat them, and you have to have things, you have to do it right, and you have to have things go your way to win those finals. But yeah, it's absolutely brilliant event to be involved with, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Even though it was a little bit disappointing, I thoroughly enjoyed it. The only thing I will want to say, which is a bit of a bold statement, and some people might not agree with this statement. For me, in practice, and take Brad away from things, in the actual match itself, for me, the best angler by a mile was Kerry Kirkwood. In the last practice match he fished, he drew in between Charlie Law and Rob Swan, and he caught 120, and the two lads, he was two brilliant young anglers either side of him, had like 80 pound. And I looked at the result and I thought, yeah, he's got it sorted. And the way he was fishing, he was just fishing short, and he wasn't really doing a lot else. And I thought to myself, with the nets being ripped out every half hour, I don't know if that's going to be right on the day. But he had the confidence to go there the day and just do it. He literally set up like a top 5 next to me, and he'd never fed any bait past that point, and he just literally fished a top 5 and in the edge. And when I look back at it, he was 3 kilos from winning from peg 5, which is permanent peg 2, which for me is an absolutely phenomenal performance. Like, he's so unlucky to win. And for me, when I look at what he done, that is the blueprint on how to fish that venue. He didn't fish across. Basically, I think what happens on there, when you start feeding across, you push the fish across into this shallow, silty water, and the fish become very, very difficult to catch. So he didn't feed it. He literally kept everything short, kept everything neat and tidy, and he caught them. He really did caught them. He had a brilliant mentality if he lost one. For me, like, honestly, I think it was probably one of the best matches I've ever seen anyone fish. It's phenomenal what he done, to have the confidence to go and do that. And I personally think he was so unlucky not to win that. To come 3 kilos off Brad, off peg, permanent peg 3, with me next to him, one side of him, blathering bait everywhere. Got Christian the other side of him who's doing his thing. To catch that is phenomenal. So well done to him. And he sort of set the blueprint on how to fish that venue. And when someone does that, catches that weight from such a bad peg, for me that shows how fair the venue is. I personally think that you put Kerry on 80% of the pegs in that match and he wins, he catches 60 plus kilos. Bit of a bold statement, but that's what I personally think. So when that's possible, you can't say it's not a fair match. He done it absolutely brilliant, so I really do take my hat off to him. So I got to be honest, when I went into this final, I didn't like the venue. It's very silty, you get lots of fish in your peg, and I felt like if you attacked it, sometimes that's the wrong thing to do, and I like to attack. But after fishing the final, seeing what Kerry did, and being next to him, and I really didn't want to be next to him before, when the draw was happening, I thought, I don't really want to be next to Kerry because I know he's got it sorted. And then of course, that's what happens. That's what always happens when you think like that. So yeah, well done, and that shows me that you can do that from a lot of pegs, and it's such a fair venue. So yeah, fair play to him, fair play to Brad, well done to Steve Openshaw on second, well done to all the section winners. It was an amazing event. I can't wait to come back, well, try and get back in it next year. And yeah, like I said before, thank you to Barry Hearn, Matchroom and Sky Sports for covering it. Fingers crossed I can get a good peg in one of the qualifiers and make it count.